I don't consider myself a feminist at all. But that it did get me thinking, and I did write an article that I think will come out soon about the downfall of living a selfish, me-focused life, And it does, I mean, for me, it's definitely started to feel hollow and meaningless. And, it's taken me to this point in my life to realize that that's not a life that's going to bring you happiness. I mean, and maybe it does for some people. I honestly have a hard time believing that. Uh, if I thought I would spend the rest of my life alone, if I didn't think that I would get married and have children, I would be devastated. So I don't know. It is such a me focused culture right now. I was constantly fed this idea that women can do everything. We don't really need men. Women can have the great career and have the kids that they like and change the tires and do this. I mean, I grew up thinking, and men are great, but like I can do all the same things. Like I really, I do feel in many ways betrayed by that line of thinking.
In the land of you simply cannot make this ish up, we have a story of a 38-year-old divorcee writing an article telling the truth of her regret of being indoctrinated into feminism, which destroyed her traditional marriage, and then at the ripe old age of 38 years old, is regretting that decision. But then in modern woman fashion, goes back and removes all accountability when she's pressured by the internet. This story is so crazy, but I think it gives us a fantastic cross-section of the Gen X, Gen Y, and some of the Gen Z representation of the modern woman today in our society. So without further ado, a woman said she felt betrayed by feminism after deciding she wanted to settle down, have a family, and a husband as she approached her 39th birthday. At one point during the interview with Fox News Digital, she broke down crying, describing she feared she would end up alone and childless. Melissa Pershing recently wrote an essay for Business Insider titled, "I'm 38 and single, and I recently realized I want a child. I'm terrified I've missed my opportunity." She said that after it went viral in November, hate began to pour in from men telling her that she's lived a very selfish life. And I agree with these men, but I don't think that it's all her fault. Let me explain in a few. But Pershing has a much different account of her story. When she was 22, she married a traditional man and moved to a rural community in Idaho, where she grew up. She says he wanted a simple life with children and home-cooked meals. But get this, despite coming from a religious Christian background, made it clear to her husband-to-be that she did not want children. So although she had it all, she recants, "At that time, I felt very strongly I did not want children, that I wasn't going to be like the traditional housewife. I knew I did want to pursue a career," she told Fox News Digital in an interview, "and I felt very strongly that that would never change. And I guess that was wrong." She drank from the feminist Kool-Aid, which indoctrinates young modern women into thinking that being a housewife or raising a family is not important, and instead indoctrinates them into thinking that being strong, independent, a career-driven woman is the highest honor. And I find it so interesting because the dogma of feminism is supposed to stand up for women, but they seem to only stand up for women until the woman wants her role to be within the household. Interesting how that happens. Pershing said that both her and her ex thought that love would conquer everything. But after 10 years, it was clear their differences in their life goals were irreconcilable. Pershing said that she became resentful when he would ask for dinner or for his laundry to be done. Stories like this is why I caution so many young men today in their early 20s that are talking about marriage. Because although she came from a small town and initially saw a traditional marriage, women have a biological need to conform to the dominant narrative within a society and a culture. It's a survival mechanism based in biology. So when you have feminism, which is mainstream being pumped into their eyes each and every day, that's how you can have them switch up later in life, irrespective of how they were raised. And who has to pay for that mistake? The men. I did little to hide my disdain for our small town life. He was a good, hard-working man, but I don't think I made him feel that way. I bet you that she's so jealous of this young woman right here.
This is why being a stay-at-home mom and wife has been the best thing that's literally ever happened to me. Okay, so I was 19 when I met my husband, so I was working, I had to go out in the world and use my life skills, I had to use my brain, like, I just didn't want to live my life like that, I really didn't. I'm a really smart girl, I can use my life skills if I wanted to, I just don't want to. So when I met my husband, I just felt like I wanted to be his housewife. I just felt like I would want to cook, I want to clean for him. It was calling to me, like when we got together, it was like, housewife mom now. Please take up a skill or a trade just in case.
She has a lot of skills.
I do.
One of them.
Thanks, babe. This is my skill. I change about 20 of these a day. I can change your diaper in the dark, eyes closed. Being a mother is one of the toughest skills you could possibly have. So yeah, try again.
At the ripe old age of 30, her and the ex divorced, and she swore off the idea of marriage. I wonder who divorced who. We already know. I told my friends and family I'd never get married again. I needed independence, a fulfilling career, and space to chart my own course. And I didn't think marriage fit into that vision. I was content to look toward a future without a husband, children, or the trappings of a traditional life. The trappings? The marketing of a city girl's lifestyle in your roaring 20s will never outvalue a family that you create in a two-parent household. And things like that, feminism will never value. As she grew older, however, the fun, carefree lifestyle, being wined and dined, going to parties began to get old. The pursuit of comfort and self became dull, she said. The wall, when she turned 38, terror began to take over. I was panic stricken. I really thought I'm going to be alone forever. It really scared me. I almost wrote the article as a sort of warning to other women. I don't want people to miss out on the important things in life because they're just enjoying themselves, but I don't think that's ever going to really make you happy. No shit, ma'am. Feminism lied to you. And you should be more mad at feminism than you would be at the critique or criticism of men all over the internet that feel for the guy that you married in your 20s that felt the burden of your bullshit. She wrote in the article how she felt the urgency to find a stable relationship and was rethinking about wanting marriage and children. I hardly recognize myself, she wrote. I also began to feel selfish for spending so much time solely on myself. My very existence started to feel shallow and hollow. Well, you should have planned appropriately. In retrospect, Pershling believed she had some self-discovery and work to do for herself. And it took time to sort through the previous trauma, her parents' divorce, which she described as coming from a broken home, took time to heal and sort through to find out what she really wanted. She then talks about starting a relationship with a guy that she had in the friend zone, and this is after her post-wall epiphany. And then she concludes, I feel unbelievably betrayed by feminism, and I don't want to put it on the movement entirely because I believe you make your own choices. Very true. But I was constantly fed this idea that women can do everything and want everything. They can have it all. We don't really need men. I kind of want to go back to some of those teachers and coaches and say, what did you mean by that? Because we can't do it all. Now, in hilarious fashion, she actually wrote a follow-up article because this original article went viral. So let's check that out real quick. I was told I was selfish for being single at 38, but I needed those years of independence. Earlier this year, I wrote an essay about the realization after my 8-year marriage in my 20s when I was career-focused and uninterested in motherhood and divorce, and then another wonderful but aimless 7-year relationship in my 30s. I'm now 38 and ready for a husband and child. She writes here she was shocked by all the attention that she was getting, but as I sifted through all of the comments, as well as the numerous emails, DMs, I realized men particularly were infuriated by what I had written. They said I had hit the wall and I had gotten what I deserved for being selfish, career obsessed, and not wanting children during my marriage. I've never viewed myself as a particularly selfish person, but as I continue to think about the word actually means, which is to be chiefly concerned with oneself, it began to resonate with me in how I lived my life. Being selfish isn't always a bad thing. The truth is, I was unwilling to live for more than myself until this point in my life. I did not want to put my husband's or potential children's needs above my own when I was married in my 20s, and I chose a relationship in my 30s that would allow me to continue to pursue the things that I wanted. Quite frankly, though it has become much more appealing to me, the thought of giving up everything I do for myself to care for others is still scary. Marriage and children are about sacrifice. I was not prepared for it, nor did I trust myself to be that person until recently. Listen, ma'am, they called you selfish within the comments, and that is exactly what you are. You ruined your marriage for something that you initially said that you regretted, but then when pressured, you removed the accountability off of you to say, well, it's time that I needed to find my truth and figure out who I am. No, you messed up and instantly regretted it, and you created a dog out of a man in the process by wasting his time. Think about the ridiculousness to admit that the way that you've lived your life now lacks meaning which you could have had if you created a family, simply at the point that the internet held you accountable for your own life decisions. It has taken me 38 years to get to this place, and perhaps some people think it was wrong of me to let my selfish desires keep me from having a family, that I could have had her earlier in life. But I wouldn't, and I can't go back to do things differently. And really, that's what this article is about. It's because she can't change it, then she shouldn't regret it. And now you're at the stage of geriatric pregnancy with the same requirements for men that you had when you were in your early 20s. Her regret of writing that initial article, I think, represents the difference in how men versus women take accountability for the choices and decisions that they made in life. Living in regret is not healthy, but the inability to understand how a particular dogma or way of thinking isn't going to benefit you all the way into your 38 means that you lack the inability to currently consider yourself and the choices and decisions that you are making. As men, we don't have the ability to do this if we want to be a man of purpose and value. But a lot of these women who are making these feminism-based relationship decisions earlier in life are beginning to understand far too late the brunt of their decision-making and self-reflecting process. But with that being said, ma'am, I wish you luck and hope that you find whatever in your life that you're looking for. Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. Guys, what do you think about the article here today, as well as my thoughts? Leave me some comments down below. We'll have a discussion about it, and I'll see you guys soon. Until next time, YouTube, peace.